The Ministry of Education just released its national report card for the entire Indian school system, and the headline is glaring. Out of 36 states and union territories, no one secured an A. This is the Performance Grading Index, or PGI 2.0, for the 2025-26 academic year. In previous iterations, the government ranked states against each other. Now, the index uses an absolute grading system. States are evaluated against a fixed benchmark of educational quality rather than competing for a relative spot on a leaderboard. This chart shows the 10 performance tiers. It starts at the absolute bottom with Akanshi 3 and climbs to the highest achievable grade, Daksh. Notice the top 4 tiers: Daksh, Utkarsh, Utkarsh 1, and Utkarsh 2. Not a single state or union territory managed to score high enough to enter those top 4 bands. For anyone studying civil services and governance, this presents a critical tension. State and central governments allocate massive, multi-crore budgets to education annually, yet the highest performance tiers remain entirely vacant. To understand why, we are going to decode the PGI 2.0 grading matrix to see exactly how the Indian government currently defines both educational success and systemic failure. PGI 2.0 functions as a diagnostic tool that highlights the specific gap between educational funding and actual classroom performance. The Indian education system operates on a staggering scale. Administrators are managing roughly 14.9 lakh schools and 26.5 crore students from highly diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. Managing a system this massive requires a unified roadmap, which is currently provided by the National Education Policy 2020. To track the success of this policy, the Ministry of Education completely overhauled the PGI indicators, ensuring the new metrics specifically measure the interventions introduced after the NEP's rollout. This domestic index is also directly tied to India's international commitments, acting as the tracking mechanism for Goal 4 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, quality education. The core difference between the original PGI and this 2.0 version is weight distribution. The previous structure focused on administrative governance processes. The revised version shifts that focus directly onto qualitative learning outcomes. Tallying the number of desks and boundary walls built in a fiscal year is no longer an adequate measure of a state's human capital development. Administrative success is now strictly defined by cognitive outcomes. If a state wants to justify its demands for central educational grants, it has to prove that its students are actually learning. This animated breakdown shows the macro structure of the PGI 2.0 matrix. It is a 1,000-point evaluation built on 73 specific, data-driven indicators, divided into 2 primary categories: outcomes and governance and management. Those 2 hemispheres are subdivided into 6 core domains of educational health. The first is learning outcomes and quality. This domain carries immense weight because it serves as the ultimate test of student cognitive capability and foundational literacy. Next is access, which tracks metrics like student enrollment, retention, and transition rates from primary to secondary schooling. The third domain is infrastructure and facilities. This evaluates physical and digital resources, ranging from functioning toilets and clean drinking water to digital classrooms. Fourth is equity. This is designed to measure the academic performance gaps between marginalized groups like SC, ST, and minority students and the general category. Fifth is governance processes, which monitors the digitalization of administration, student attendance tracking, and transparent fund utilization. Finally, teacher education and training. This acknowledges that educator capacity dictates classroom success. By spreading the 1,000 points across these 73 specific indicators, the ministry ensures a multidimensional assessment. This 6-domain structure prevents state governments from using physical infrastructure projects to obscure poor academic results.
Historically, federal evaluation indices suffered from a critical flaw. State governments self-reported their own data, often inflating their numbers to secure a larger share of central funds. To solve this, PGI 2.0 bypasses state-level manual reporting. It pulls raw, verified data directly from central digital portals: UDICE Plus, Parak, PM Potion, and Praband. UDICE Plus acts as the primary data source for tracking physical infrastructure, school facilities, and baseline student enrollment metrics. Parak, leveraging the National Achievement Survey, provides the hard, unalterable metrics for student cognitive learning and foundational literacy. The PM Potion portal tracks the implementation of the midday meal program and monitors nutritional entitlements delivered on the ground. And the Proband portal is used to strictly monitor financial convergence and how efficiently states utilize their approved funds. By integrating these specific portals, the ministry creates an automated, cross-verified grading matrix. This data engine transforms PGI 2.0 into an objective, tamper-proof diagnostic tool for federal governance. Looking at the actual results, the Union Territory of Chandigarh, along with Punjab and Delhi, emerged as the top-performing entities in the country. However, these top performers only reached the Uttam 3 and Prachesta 1 bands. This indicates a severe ceiling on the current quality of Indian education, even in the best resourced areas. The contrast is stark at the other end of the spectrum, where states like Meghalaya and Bihar languish at the absolute lowest tier, a Kanchi 3. This creates a massive interstate disparity, with a nearly 300-point gap separating the highest score in Chandigarh from the lowest score in Meghalaya. A deeper look at Bihar reveals a specific data paradox. The state has actually shown progressive, successful improvements in the access and infrastructure domains. This comparative chart isolates the problem. While Bihar's metrics for access and infrastructure are growing, its score for learning outcomes remains drastically low and stagnant. Building boundary walls and installing functioning toilets are necessary steps, but they do not automatically translate to students comprehending math and science. The data proves that while the Indian state is successfully constructing school buildings and enrolling students, it is struggling to deliver foundational literacy and numeracy. Evaluating education at a macro-state level often creates a statistical illusion. A state average can easily hide severe developmental inequalities between districts within that state. To correct this, the ministry introduced PGID, the Performance Grading Index for districts. This localized index uses a tailored 600-point matrix to evaluate 784 individual districts across the country. It breaks down the assessment into 6 broad categories and 11 distinct domains, specifically engineered to measure local implementation efficiency. This granular data allows state governments to identify exactly which blocks are failing, so they can deploy targeted resources precisely where the deficit is most severe. By drilling down to the district level, the index effectively eliminates administrative blind spots in large, geographically and culturally diverse states. True educational reform in India's massive federal structure cannot simply be mandated from New Delhi. It has to be diagnosed and treated district by district. The metrics for educational success have shifted. The government no longer evaluates progress based on inputs alone. Administrators must now pivot toward outcomes, focusing their budgets on initiatives that directly drive cognitive improvement and rigorous teacher training. For lagging states, the roadmap is clear. They require an immediate, simultaneous investment in transparent digital governance and robust educator capacity. This shift illustrates the mechanics of modern center-state relations and the necessity of evidence-based policymaking. PGI 2.0 provides a data-driven roadmap for state governments to secure India's future human capital.